My parents don't like me having a relationship with my ex's kids. So my ex and I were married for 4 years, and we got divorced 2 years ago. She had 2 children from a previous relationship, a girl and a boy aged 9 and 8 when we got married. I loved them like my own and got pretty close to them in my marriage. I was the first stable father figure they had. My parents never liked my ex. They didn't like that she was older and had kids. They told me that I was young and should want to start my own family. I ignored them and married her. We got divorced because we fell out of love. Our divorce was amicable, and I still talk to my ex sometimes. But I've maintained a good relationship with her children, and I love them. They are 15 and 14 now, and stay with me some weekends. I go to their school for their sporting events. They like me very much, and my ex never objected to any of it. My parents have been grumbling about how I wasn't their father ever since I got divorced. They kept telling me that they are not my responsibility. I've started seeing someone recently, and my parents told me that I should stop seeing the kids. Even a couple of my friends told me that I shouldn't be the father of my ex's children. I didn't know that having a relationship with your ex's children is looked down upon. How should I deal with this? Now in the comments, I don't like religious connotations on society, but Catholics might have a good idea when it comes to godparents. You were a part of their life, and it wouldn't be weird to be a godparent. That would be someone who can be unrelated who has a significant impact on the child's life. It wouldn't even be weird once you had your own kids. I get that without the religious connotation, there isn't really an equivalent role, but you and your ex should talk about the labels and roles that you could fill, especially as she decides to date, and you could be in competition there as well. Having a non-parent role defined might relieve tension. Ignore the haters. This is lovely, and it demonstrates who in this story is a good person who cares about others, and it demonstrates who are small-minded, selfish people. In my opinion, it's totally fine and probably great for the kids. My ex and I parted ways 15 years ago. He is still a father figure to my now 23-year-old. He has been in her life as my friend since she was born, and as her stepfather since she was a couple years old. Her father isn't the best guy, and rarely talks to her even though she's made an effort herself to visit and have a relationship with him. My ex is the person I really consider to be her father, as does he. Even though we aren't together and she's an adult now, he still helps her when she needs it. They stay in contact, and honestly, if it weren't for him, she wouldn't have anyone. I think that you're still wanting and willing to be a part of their lives is an incredible thing. The world needs more people like you. And now onto the update. So after I made the previous post, I spoke with my ex about the issue. She said that she was happy that I kept in touch with her children. She also said that her children were always eager to spend time with me, and that my presence rectified her regret of not having a father to her kids. We decided that I would be her children's godparent. When I told my parents about it, they were furious. I told them clearly that it was my decision and that they had no part in it. I also told them that I would stop talking to them if they kept pushing it. My girlfriend supported my decision as well. I want to thank the person who gave me the godparent idea and all the people who replied to the previous post. Thank you. What a great compromise, and what a wonderful and healthy way to be a great role model to the children. Props to both you, your ex, and your new girlfriend for being able to communicate in a positive and healthy way and show the children that breakups don't have to be toxic. You all sound great, except your parents. Sorry, but they sound pretty rubbish. It sounds like you have a great situation and relationships with your ex and current girlfriend. I would just keep ignoring your parents' advice and feedback. What the hell is wrong with them that they would basically want a couple of children to suffer for absolutely no reason? It would be hard to take any advice from them seriously. In the wise words of Mel Horowitz, you divorce wives, not children. Well done, OP. It sounds like OP may need to divorce his parents also. Another weird, stupid, nonsensical hill that someone is dying on. All because of their hatred for his ex, they are missing out on being grandparents to kids who didn't do anything to deserve their hatred, and they are on the threshold of losing their son, all because they can't keep their mouths shut and let their adult son live his own life. My fiancé had a 4-year-old daughter when we began our relationship. She asked to call me dad at 6. Her mum and I broke our engagement when she was in 6th grade, but it was a mutual decision and we decided to split custody, even though it was more organic than the cold phrase make it sound. And this year, my amazing and beautiful daughter turns 23. I was told by peers and adult role models alike not to make the decision to raise her as my own, and I'm happy to say that I followed my gut and heart and raised her with my ex into becoming such a wonderful person and my best friend. Don't let anybody tell you who your family is, even your family. I officially and legally adopt my daughter, 23, this summer. Our next post is titled, Am I the Arsehole for Kicking My Husband Out of the Delivery Room? So I, 23 female, and my husband, 24 male, just had our first baby. My husband was so excited and was super supportive and caring throughout the pregnancy. The only thing is that he became slightly obsessed with watching YouTube and TikTok videos of husbands pulling pranks on their wives while in labor. I didn't mind at first, but then he started casually joking about doing things that he saw in the videos, saying it would be funny. I clearly stated my distaste for them and asked him not to do anything like what he saw. He agreed and continued to joke about it time to time, but I brushed it off since I trusted him and thought nothing would come of it. The day of the delivery came, and I had been in labor for 8 hours, 12 hours total. I had just finished another round of contractions when my husband let out the loudest fart, turned to me and said, "What the hell have you been eating, OP? It smells disgusting." I immediately recognized that as one of the pranks in the videos. Outraged at him not honoring what I asked him not to do, I demanded that he leave the room. He started arguing, saying it was just a joke, but I insisted, and luckily the nurse helped get him out. I went through the last 4 hours of labor by myself, since my family lives out of state and I'm not close to my mother-in-law. After the delivery, I told the nurse he could come back into the room, and he was fuming. He started demanding that I tell him why I kicked him out. I calmly told him the reason, but he was pissed. He hasn't talked to me in a week. His mum is taking his side, saying that I was a complete cow for kicking him out. Normally he will defend me from her, but this time he completely agreed. I might be the arsehole because I know how much he was looking forward to being there for the birth of our first kid, and especially when he got to cut the cord. But I still kicked him out and refused to let him back in. The nurse asked me a few times if I wanted him back, but each time I said no. Am I the arsehole for kicking my husband out after a stupid prank that he agreed not to do? Now in the comments, not the arsehole. If he was really excited about seeing his child be born, he would have honored your request. I can't imagine where this trend originated. You know what would be funny? If when my wife or significant other has been in labor for hours, in pain, exhausted, being torn apart from the inside, I played a prank on her. Wouldn't it be hysterical if instead of giving her the support she needs, I humiliated her? That's your significant other. He thinks like a 5-year-old, and his mother, who was given birth herself, says that's okay? That means in her eyes, nothing he does, no matter who it hurts, is wrong. She will always support him over you. That invalidates her opinion in any argument you have with your husband. That she is even allowed an opinion in a private matter between the two of you is another issue. Do not feel guilty for robbing him of this experience. You did not. He threw it away all by himself. Not the arsehole. And what did he think was funny about that? Also, how totally gross for the delivery room personnel who definitely did not to hear or smell a grown man fart loudly. Well, he played a stupid game and won a stupid prize. I'm so sorry this is messing up what should have been a magical time for you both. Edit, TikTok is the arsehole. Of course, the husband is the arsehole too, but TikTok spreads evil all over the world. Her husband just spread miasmic evil in one delivery room. TikTok might be an arsehole, but OP's husband is too. Social media can be crazy, but whether or not you participate in that craziness is on you. It's not like TikTok brainwashed him into watching those pranks, even though he didn't want to. If he hadn't been watching and interacting with them on his own, the algorithm wouldn't show them to him at all. Unless he has pushed a melon-sized human being out of his dick, he cannot dictate what is and is not acceptable in the delivery room. The only one who has any say in that is the person actually giving birth, his wife. These trends are not funny at all. If anything, they are pretty cruel. During a woman's lowest and most vulnerable, when she is tearing herself apart and covered in blood, her husband pulled a prank on her. Instead of the support she needs, he thinks it would be funny to humiliate her, to make fun of what could have been a very traumatic experience for her. Oh, and after he humiliated her, he punished her justified reaction by not talking to her for the first week of their child's life? OP, are you sure he's mature enough to raise your child? I really hope you are being hyperbolic when you say he hasn't talked to you during the first week of your baby's life. If not, this issue is much bigger than pulling a stupid prank in the delivery room. Yeah, the silent treatment, when weaponized like this, is emotional abuse. He doesn't legitimately need space to process, he is just trying to punish OP again during one of the most vulnerable parts of her life when she needs his support. Adding on that he's letting his mum contribute more abuse, and it's a lot of red flags. OP, I know he just pulled a joke in poor taste, but a lot of abusers use a child's birth as a point to flip the relationship so that they can have more control. So make sure not to fall for it. Best case scenario, he's just acting sulky and immature. Though whether or not you can deal with this one extra baby you didn't ask for is another question. Best wishes, OP, and congrats on your newborn. I hope you have some support in your life. And now back up to the post. Edit. I just wanted to thank everyone for all the support and reassurance on here, and wanted to answer some questions and give an update. For questions, he has been bonding with the baby, but not quite helping. When he felt like holding her, he would just take her from my arms, or if mother-in-law was around, he would ask her to get the baby. And I know I posted this answer previously, but I wanted to put it here in case anyone missed it. If he had been apologetic in any way, I would have let him come back into the delivery room. And the nurse did check on him, but he was sulking and complaining that I did that. Update: it's been a rough first week, but thankfully my mother arrived this morning to help out. I talked to my husband, as best I could, since he is still upset and ignoring me, and I told him how I was feeling. I have been feeling depressed and anxious since we brought the baby home, and that I understood why he was upset, but asked him to please see my side. He told me that I had no right to kick him out, and that our daughter would come to hate me one day for making him miss her birth. I started crying and begged him to please talk things through instead of saying things out of anger. He refused and said I was under his roof, so he had the final say, and he called me a C-word for kicking him out of the delivery room. I didn't say anything else to him, I just started packing myself and the baby's things and planned on leaving. He yelled, telling me that I couldn't take anything that he paid for. I haven't worked since the start of the pandemic. I just took the baby and told my mum that we were leaving. We are staying at a motel and will drive to my parents' house tomorrow. Sorry for the long update, but I wanted everyone to know the outcome. And now in the comments, don't worry, child support and alimony will pay for replacements, and your daughter will hate the prick that you are anyway. Yeah, WTF was, our child will one day resent me for not being there while she was born. I'm 25, and I have no fucking idea who was in the room when I was born, and I couldn't give a microcosm of a fuck less than I already do, so what the fuck is he talking about? Daughter will resent mother for, after having her wishes disrespected, and dad actively pranking mum during active labor, kicking dad out so he is not present in the room and cutting the umbilical cord, or daughter will resent father for, after disrespecting mum during one of the most intense and difficult moments of her life, having to be removed from the room during childbirth, then sulking like a child, instead of realizing he'd been making the labor harder and going back in to participate, then acting infantile and not only refusing to talk things out with mum, but also turn grandma against mum, and finally calling mum an expletive for trying to be a reasonable parent. Telling mum she was under his roof, and then not letting her take anything with her for baby care when she fled the house. Normally, I wouldn't want a mum to poison a child against their parent, and to keep that kind of relationship between parents drama from the child, but in this case, mum should provide all the details. His roof? couldn't take anything he paid for, hasn't helped with the baby, still sulking a week later. This guy is a menace. He's gonna be sulking a lot more when that anything he paid for line turns into monthly alimony and child support payments. Our next post is titled, "Am I the asshole for telling my sister-in-law her friend is no longer allowed over because she wears revealing clothes around my husband? I, 23 female, have a husband, 24 male. He has a sister who he's extremely close to. Me and her have gotten along since my husband first introduced me to her, and I actually consider her my sister. Recently, she has started living with us. She was supposed to get married to her fiancé, but last second he cancelled the wedding and she had nowhere to live since he was her support system financially. We took her in while she gets back up on her feet. Well, since she lives with us, we allow her to bring over her friends. One friend, 24 female in particular, sleeps over a lot. I don't really mind since sister-in-law's room is in the attic and her friend doesn't really come out of her room often. I have noticed, though, that when my husband is out and she comes out of the attic, she would wear big hoodies and a long baggy pants. But as soon as my husband comes back, she'll go back up to the attic and come back wearing booty shorts and basically a transparent shirt which shows everything. I thought I was overreacting and didn't do anything about it, but the other day my husband came to me shaking. When I asked him what was wrong, he basically cried to me that he felt extremely uncomfortable and angry. When I asked for a reason, he said that every time sister-in-law's friend comes over, she literally flirts non-stop with him when no one is around. Once apparently, she even took off her pants and when he told her not to, she said that she just needed some air. The reason why he was so upset this time was because a few minutes earlier she had tried to grab his hand. My husband hates physical touch with anyone he's not comfortable with, hence that was a breaking point for him. After a long discussion between us two, we told sister-in-law how we didn't want her friend over anymore because she was making us both uncomfortable. Sister-in-law freaked out, saying that it wasn't her friend's fault that my husband was attracted to her, and started saying that we were both some sexist assholes. I feel really bad, honestly. I'm a big women activist, and this has really made me feel like a sexist woman. Also, sister-in-law refuses to look at me now, and I'm scared our relationship is ruined. I also feel bad because I know sister-in-law's friend was a big support system for her during these hard times, and I might have taken that away from her. Am I the asshole? And now in the comments, not the asshole. This friend is sexually harassing your husband. It has less to do with what she chooses to wear, and much more to do with her unwillingness to respect personal space and take a no. It is not sexist in the slightest. Would you at all accept a man coming in, taking off his pants and touching someone against their will? It's the same for her. Yeah, no means no is universal, not the asshole. It's disheartening to see OP question herself over this scenario because sexual harassment can 100% be committed by a woman against a man, and calling out that behavior is not being sexist or going against feminism. OP is not the asshole, and both she and her husband should not be subjected to this behavior in their own home. Quite the opposite. Freedom from unwanted sexual attention has been a core value of feminism since the beginning. Therefore, calling it out is the feminist thing to do. Not the asshole, OP. And if your husband's sister is going to call you names and make you uncomfortable in your own home, I would urge you to seriously consider whether this living arrangement should come to an end. Not the asshole. Sister-in-law, this has nothing to do with the attraction to your friend. Your friend has been sexually harassing and touching my husband against his direct consent. He came to me shaken because of how uncomfortable your guest made him feel in his own home by touching him. You and I both know that he doesn't like being touched by people he's not comfortable with. What is sexist here is that you think it's 100% acceptable of your friend to do to someone else, let alone to a married man who has no interest in her whatsoever. If you want to meet your friend, you can meet her outside of our home, but she is not allowed back, period. I am big on woman activism, but that doesn't mean I'm against it for men. Just as I actively disagree with sexual harassment for women, the same goes for men as well. If I find out you let her back here after how uncomfortable she made your brother through sexual harassment, I will serve you an eviction notice. I am not going to be painted as a sexist asshole for protecting my husband from your terrible friend. It's okay if that's the kind of company you want to keep, but I and my husband, and he should tell her this too, do not want to. And OP says, definitely will shorten it a bit if I use it, but thank you so much for the suggestion. And now on to the update. After seeing your comments, my husband also read them, decided that me and my husband's decision was final. It already was, but I and he just didn't want to feel guilty. And we told sister-in-law it was final, and her friend was no longer allowed over. She sighed, and to my surprise didn't protest, just sat there and took it. We thought that was that. Well, after telling her that her friend wasn't allowed over, we left to get food. We love getting pizza together to de-stress, and it was a mini date. However, when we came back, sister-in-law and her friend were sitting on the couch. Sister-in-law stood up and basically started cursing me out for thinking of her as a lowlife. Then she turned to my husband and demanded that he would reconsider who he married because I forced him to ban her from the house. My husband started yelling at her, and I just sat back and watched as she was yelled at like a kid. To sum it up, he was telling her she had no respect for herself because she just kept throwing herself on him even after he showed and told her he was uncomfortable. Sister-in-law sat there with her mouth open like she had no idea what was going on and why there was so much yelling. While sister-in-law's friend was getting yelled at by my husband, I called the police and they took sister-in-law's friend in for trespassing. Sister-in-law protested by saying that she let her in, but because sister-in-law doesn't pay rent and isn't on the house owner list, it was still considered trespassing. After sister-in-law's friend was taken, I had to sit back and watch another wave of yelling, this time between my husband and sister-in-law. I left mid-argument because it was too much for me to handle when sister-in-law started pointing at me and calling me vulgar names. I stayed in my bedroom, and when my husband came into the room, literally like 2 hours later, no, I didn't check on them because he told me to stay in the room until he told me to come out. He said he kicked her out and that she wouldn't be staying with us anymore. So yeah, sister-in-law hates me right now, my husband despises seeing his sister, and sister-in-law lives with my parents-in-law. Also, for the record, everyone in my husband's family is on our side, though I know for a fact sister-in-law and her friends, yes, all of them, despise my guts. I have to see sister-in-law this weekend for a family gathering, and honestly, I'm contemplating not going. My husband says he won't go if I don't, but I think that's unfair to his family. That's all I have for now though. And now in the comments, good for you and your husband for taking out the trash, and kudos to the husband for handling the situation with his sister rather than relying on you to do it. I remember reading the post on Am I the Arsehole and was wondering how it would turn out. So thanks for the update. Not the arsehole. Like, what is up with the sister-in-law? Either you didn't know her as well as you thought, or something is going on. Honestly, it might be good for the two of you to not go and let the family ream her. Then again, she might turn them against you. Don't worry about being unfair to his family for now. You and your husband should focus on yourselves for a bit, since this was probably very stressful for both of you. Especially your husband, since he was sexually harassed. Don't go if you don't want to, your mental health comes first, and don't worry about what sister-in-law and her friends think. They are toxic and delusional, and you were both better off without them. I wonder why the fiancé called the wedding off last minute. I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, I also wonder if her little friend was involved too. Wouldn't be surprised. I was 99% certain the sister-in-law was encouraging the friend's behavior because she thought that it would be cute for them to be together. I'm still not convinced this is not the reason why she acted this way. It sucks because it wasn't even OP who had the complaint. She was just sticking up for her husband. It's actually really telling that sister-in-law and friend both assume that if a man doesn't want a woman flirting with him, it's his significant other's wishes and not his. Anyway guys, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed the stories. Let me know what you thought of them down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.